If you've been praying for discernment lately, clarity, wisdom, steadiness, I want to invite you to slow down with me today. Not rush toward answers, not problem solve, but to pay attention. I've been sitting in Proverbs this month alongside 2nd Chronicles, and something in Proverbs chapter 5 really just made me pause and just sit there with it for a little bit. It wasn't a warning and it wasn't a rebuke. It was an invitation. And it says, "My son, pay attention to my wisdom. Listen carefully to my wise counsel." That phrase, pay attention, has been echoing in my heart because it tells me something important about discernment. It doesn't usually arrive in a dramatic moment. It's formed quietly, long before the moment that we realize that we need it. And discernment doesn't begin with decisions. I mean, so often when we talk about discernment, we're thinking about these big crossroads, right? Like, should we do this or not? Is this from God or not? Is this the right timing? But Proverbs doesn't start there. It starts with attention. Pay attention to my wisdom. Listen carefully. That tells me discernment doesn't begin when pressure hits. That's before then, way before then. It begins with what we're listening to every day. And as homeschooling moms, we are constantly making decisions. I mean, many of them are invisible to everyone else. I mean, from decisions about what to allow into our homes and our schedules and our children's minds and our own hearts, to just what needs to be on the grocery list and what we're making for dinner tonight. Those are a lot of decisions that some are weightier than others, but they're all there. And we have to use discernment about some of the weightier ones. And all of it takes energy. And so what are we listening to? What are we paying attention to? And how can we concentrate our energy and our listening and our focus onto what's going to help us make the best decisions? How to have the best discernment? Because the truth is, discernment isn't something that we can manufacture on demand. It has to be cultivated. And I mean, you can see that in your own kids. We have to cultivate biblical, wise discernment in our children and their hearts. It's what we return to. It's what we allow to shape us. It's what we give our attention to over and over again. So, like me, I have repeatedly taken off, say, like Sudoku from my phone just because it sucks up time from me. Why and I can rationalize, well, it's helping me keep my brain sharp. No, it's actually sucking time away. That's something little and kind of dumb, but I give attention to it. And so I have to take it off and not have it there because for me, it becomes a time waster. Wisdom doesn't usually shout. It doesn't compete for volume. Wisdom waits to be chosen. Proverbs refers to wisdom as a lady, and she's there. She's getting your attention, but she doesn't force her way in. She says, "Come to me." Proverbs 5:2 continues. It says, "Then you will show discernment, and your lips will express what you've learned." That word "then" matters. We have a lot of "if you do this, then this," or "if this, then this" in Proverbs. Lots of if-thens. That word "then" is a big deal. Then, after attention. Then, after listening. And then, after time. Discernment here is described as something that guards. It guards our hearts, our words, our responses. And that tells me that discernment is preventative. It protects us before regret. before there's damage and before we drift. And oh my goodness, that is such a gift from God. I mean, we often think wisdom shows up to clean up messes, but Scripture shows us that wisdom is meant to keep us from needing rescue in the first place. And that's, I think, something that we overlook, whether intentionally or unintentionally, so often. And for me, this is kind of where the book of 2nd Chronicles has been speaking like just so loudly to me. Because over and over, I mean, in the books of 1st and 2nd Kings and 1st and 2nd Chronicles, you see this repeated over and over. But right now, I've read through those and I'm in 2nd Chronicles. Over and over, we see kings who sought God fully in one season, and then under pressure, they relied on someone else. And we see kings who have one king does evil, and then somebody comes along and like there's righteousness again. And we have a king who is righteous and chooses God. And then his son does not follow God and does what's wicked. These kings who, like, specifically I'm thinking of there was Asa, made some choices. He was a godly king and he made some poor choices at some points. His son Jehoshaphat, he sought God fully and he obeyed God. And then, Asa. I'm thinking of Asa. Asa was godly and he sought God and he obeyed him and he was honored and he was given victory. And then later, under pressure, he relied on something else. He relied on the strength and the promises of a pagan king. He didn't wake up one day and intend to drift. He simply stopped listening as closely after, years of peace and relative, calm. He trusted what felt logical and what felt efficient and maybe what was the most comfortable. So discernment dulled, not all at once, but just kind of subtly. And this is why Scripture is so consistent in calling us to seek God, not just consult Him when things get hard. Discernment is not about intelligence. It's about attentiveness. Are we paying attention? This has been really personal for me lately. I'm in a season of creating again. It's something new. For me, it feels tender. It's something that matters deeply to me and to the women that God has entrusted to my heart. And I've felt Him say very gently but very clearly, don't rush. Don't strive. Pay attention. And let wisdom lead with peace. And that is not always easy, especially when there's expectations and there's needs and there's timelines and very real responsibilities. But Proverbs reminds me that wisdom isn't rushed and discernment is worth the time it takes to form. If you've been asking God, like me, for discernment lately, I want to offer this encouragement to you. Maybe you don't need a new answer. Maybe you just need deeper attentiveness. That's been me, no shame, okay? So pay attention to His wisdom. Listen carefully to His counsel. Discernment will come, and it will guard what matters most. Thanks for sitting with me today.